What's going on, guys? Rob with 3STRONG here. This is part 3 of How to Get Sexy. Isn't that just a scandalous title? Well, I don't take myself very seriously, but I do take education and exercise very seriously, as you guys have probably noticed from all the videos. But really, all I'm talking about in these videos, regardless of how goofy the title is how do I maximize muscle mass? How do I minimize my fat storage and maximize fat burning so I can look quote-unquote sexy. And if the title turns you off in those two previous videos, go back and watch it. I'm talking about science. I'm talking about a serious thing. It's just a goofy title. Don't even worry about it. Anyway, speaking of science, let's get on to it. So, in part 2, I talked about this kind of small tank, big tank. Small tank is the carbohydrates. We have a finite amount. We have about a capacity of about 400 grams of carbohydrates that can be stored. Anything extra, even if it's carbohydrates, whatever, it'll get dumped off as fat. So if we start consuming a lot of carbohydrates and we don't utilize it, guess what? The tank is topped off, gets dumped off into those fat stores. So that's why all the bread, the pastas, the bagels, all that starchy, sugary stuff is making you fat. Through exercise, we can learn how to burn these fats more. So, say you are trying to get back into shape, you're getting into the gym, and it sucks. Anything you do just feels like a higher intensity exercise. So then what happens is you actually start burning a lot of these carbohydrates. But you want to burn the fats. This is an interesting little tidbit. As you get into better shape, guess what happens? As you're doing higher intensity exercise, as you're pushing yourself, your body starts to conserve its carbohydrate stores. As you get in better shape, now instead of burning primarily carbohydrates during your exercise, the amount of fat burned starts to increase. Factoid. Marathon runners, elite marathon runners, are burning over 90% of their fuel as fat. But think about how fast marathon runners are going. They're running, on average, they're doing about a 420 to 430 minute mile pace. That's an average of about, 105 to 110, about 105 per quarter mile, per 400 meters. So try to go out to a local high school track, do one lap as fast as you can and see what that feels like. I'm pretty sure most of you will not get 105. It's that fast. But they are so efficient, their systems are so efficient that they are now burning 98% fat at a very high intensity. That is the kind of fat burning system that you want. We want to maximize the fat burning, and getting in better shape, developing those muscles, developing your cardiovascular system is going to allow you to burn more fat. And that's going to happen through higher intensity work. And that higher intensity work is going to be through increased load. So the amount of resistance we have, the amount of weight that we use, the higher it is, the more carbohydrates we're going to burn. The speed, obviously, the faster we go, the more intense it is. The slower we go towards walking, lower intensity. Fatigue. Once that fatigue is high, we really start burning those carbohydrates. And all these things are very good to help us start to burn those carbohydrates. Why is that important? Like I said, because as we get into better shape, it increases our capacity to start burning fat. But from a nutritional standpoint, why is that important? Well, if we look at this little tank and we're doing all these exercises that help to burn our carbohydrates, we start dipping into this little tank here. So now there's more room. There's more room when we refuel and we take in those carbohydrates. Guess what? It's going to go into that little tank, and it's not going to get dumped off in that fat tank because we have room for it. But we can't overdo it because, like I said, we only have a capacity of about 400 grams, and it's not like every single time you're going to work out that you're going to completely deplete this, and if you do, you will know. So really, maybe you use 100 grams, or maybe you use 200 grams. Throughout the day, that's not that much. So if you are consuming a lower carbohydrate diet, and doing high intensity exercise, then you are refilling and refueling this carbohydrate tank. But as you get into better shape and you're starting to burn more fats, guess what? You're using the energy in this tank, but you're also refilling it, but not too much. And so instead of filling up that fat tank, it starts to go lower and lower and lower. That's what you want. That's a lot of information right there, but that's pretty much the basics of it. That's how your body, that's why higher intensity exercise is so important. So you start to utilize these carbohydrates, but also reducing your carbohydrate intake is going to have less capacity to dump all that excess off into fat storage. But through your exercise, you're starting to burn those fats. Woo! Man, that was a lot of information right there. Hopefully you guys can take something away from that. And by the end of this, hopefully your ears aren't bleeding or your eyes aren't crossed. But anyway, if you guys have any more questions, I can go into more detail. But that's it, man. That's science for you right there. I don't care how sexy you are. You know what? Science is sexy. How about that? See you guys tomorrow.